All right, hello everyone. This is a walkthrough for the Introduction to Earthquakes lab. You're going to start off, like always, answering your do now. The first component is watching a video on earthquakes and writing a few notes on it. You will then continue by reading the small paragraphs of information that will give you the important vocabulary and understanding of earthquakes. So read very carefully. All the information is here to all the questions. Please write it in your own words. After you are done with those few pages of reading, you're going to move on to learn about the Mercalli scale. So this is a scale that we use to rate how intense an earthquake is. So the highest rating at the bottom is going to rate the earthquake by how much damage is done. So whether buildings were destroyed, if people felt it. And the lowest rating will mention how little damage is done and how barely anyone felt the earthquake. So that's how the Mercalli scale rates it. So what you're going to be doing in your lab is essentially reading through the Mercalli scale and looking at phone calls, like this example, caller 1, and you're going to try to identify where this caller is calling from and what was the intensity of the earthquake. Okay, use the clues that are in the phone call to figure out what it would be on the Mercalli scale. So for caller 1, hi, this is Charles from the hospital. We only had slight to moderate damage in the new well-built care building. The building containing most of our records was old and poorly built. Damage there was considerable. So I would go back and I would look on the Mercalli scale to see where this would match. If, buildings were moderately damaged, which one of these would I put on my map? Okay, so you're gonna do that for all of them. Here's what the map looks like. So you need to identify first, where is the hospital that Charles is calling from? So it would be right here, the hospital, and then you're going to label it. Okay, by the end of your lab, and let me show you what the caller list looks like. This is the entire caller list. And this is the second part. Ask us for the caller list. We do have some available for you. It's not in your lab, but you will need this to complete it. By the end, your map is going to look something like this. The different callers are labeled, and then you're going to connect all of the callers with the same intensity of earthquake. These are called isolines. After you're done, you can use this image to check if you labeled the callers correctly. So if your map doesn't look like this by the end, you might want to go back and double check what you did. If we go back to the lab, this just explains isolines, which are just, like I said before, connecting the same intensities together. Sometimes you'll see that in weather maps and other geographic maps. And then you will want to complete, I believe there's only 2 questions. Yes, there's 2 questions based on the Mercalli scale at the end of your lab. So this one says, which Mercalli intensity could everyone feel the vibrations caused by this earthquake? I would look at the Mercalli scale that they provided. Where does it say that everyone felt the vibrations? And then write down your answer. Same thing here. What's one possible cause of earthquakes? Just use information that you learned at the beginning to answer that. All right, and you should be good.